All rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, September 6th Board of Aldermen meeting, first meeting of the month. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
So moved.
The motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving to outside the rail. First up, we have Chief Lovett, referral request, equipment repair ladder truck number 1. Chief Lovett.
Good evening, everyone. I come to the board tonight to ask for a referral to public safety for the repair of ladder 1. We've had some issues with it recently, and I'd like to discuss it at the committee level and see what they desire.
Okay.
I'll move to refer to Public Safety Committee.
Motion to refer.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Chief.
Also, just a quick note, the AFG grant that we applied for, we weren't successful in getting the air packs, but we were able to secure a little over $40,000 for the purchase of 5 thermal imagers. If we can find them now, that would, it's going to be a challenge, but at least we have a substantial part of it. Exactly.
Great.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Jepson, you want to? Next up, we have Lyle Jepson from Cedar.
Chamber and Economic Development. Thank you, Mike. I assured Mary I'm not here asking for money tonight. I'm here to thank. The answer would have been. Well, the answer would have been okay. Thank you for that. I'll come next time. So I wanted to thank the city and all the departments in the city for their support of our Whoopie Pie Festival and Parade of Heroes. We could not have done it without the rec department, who was there to help us line up for the parade, and they did some activities on the Green Street. We could not have done it without the fire department, who was there and made sure that when everything went off, the fireworks that is, went off at Meadow Street, everything was fine down there. The police department, thank you very much. They were in the parade, as was the fire department, leading our essential workers who were nurses and others who we wanted to thank and make sure they knew how much we appreciated their efforts during the pandemic. I also wanted to thank in particular, the Downtown Rutland Partnership was very supportive. And I want to thank in particular the mayor, because at 10 minutes of 10 that evening, he answered his cell phone. And I was a bit panicked because with thousands of footsteps going across the Green Street that was put down by Carpenter and Costin so all the kids could play, we didn't realize there'd be a little dirt left. And there was a whole lot of dirt left. And by 7 o'clock the next morning, the mayor calls me and says, returning the favor, getting you up. I'm down here looking at the street. Yeah, there's a little dirt in the street. By 11 o'clock, he had workers from DPW down there with the street sweeper, took care of it. You never would have known there was a problem. I wanted to specifically give 2 shout outs, well 3. One to the mayor for answering his cell phone at 10 o'clock at night, and also to Kevin Fenning, who was the street sweeper, and also his partner Steve Flynn, who was there helping him make sure everything was cleaned up and ready to go for the next day. So I want to thank the city. You donated some money towards that as well. We appreciated your support. There were lots of people downtown. People said, how many were down there? I said, I have no idea. But somebody said there must have been 2,000 people going back and forth through the course of the day. And it was just a nice event, and so nice that we might have to come back next year and say, would you allow us to do it again? So I want to shout out especially to DPW for allowing us to change the makeup of which streets we needed opened and closed. They did that on a dime, and we appreciate everyone's support. So that's why I was here tonight. And also to remind you, thank you for your donation to the Hub Co-works from the ARPA fund. The construction's going a little slower than we had anticipated. We hope to be open by this point, but anybody who's in the construction field knows that when you say supply chain, you really mean it and you make a face. And so not everything has shown up right when we wanted everything to show up. Sometime in October, we hope that we will be reaching out to you to come down for an open house. And I'll be back, Mary, for the money at that point, probably in October. So thank you very much. And we also have a mixer at New Story Center next Tuesday night, the 13th, 5 o'clock. Hope you can come. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lyle. Any questions?
He's gone already. All right, moving on. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item from outside the, that's on an item from outside the rail that's not on the agenda this evening? Tyler, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Just want to kind of give a quick update on the Main Street Park project. Main Street Park project is moving forward. Kim and I met with NBF last Friday, preliminary meeting for design, and we're looking for probably 2 to 3 potential options for the park so we can have a good idea of, a bunch of different ideas people can look at. I chatted with Tom today about getting a rec committee meeting potentially together next week to have everybody look at these designs and get your input on it, because it's a community process, and we want your guys' opinions and thoughts on everything. So, it is moving forward. The hope is still to have bids ready for this fall to go out for the upcoming spring to summer construction season. So, just wanted to give you guys an update on that this evening. So,
Great.
Any questions?
Great, thank you, Tyler.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Is there anyone else that would like to speak from outside the rail this evening? All right, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. I have 2 items for your consideration tonight. First, as my memo in your packet explains, Doug Casella, who is with us tonight, contacted me a couple of weeks ago, and he is interested in selling solar credits to the city from his solar array, which he has built in the town of Pittsford up on Parker Road, if I'm not mistaken. Doug and I met a couple of weeks ago again with the city attorney and a representative from the solar developer, Eric Fenoff, I believe is his name, of Aegis Solar, and who developed the project. I believe from our discussion that this has the potential to save the city not an insignificant amount of money with little to no effort on the city's part, and save us on our electricity costs, which of course are our hard costs and hard to regulate. So the initial estimate, which I think the city attorney kind of put together, is $13,000 a year, which would escalate over the years as electric rates go up. But again, not insignificant when you're looking at all the hard costs that we're facing this coming year. So what I'd like to ask is if you would refer the issue to committee. We have recommended the Finance Committee, but it's certainly up to the board where you'd like to send that. But we'd like to have that meeting in the next couple of weeks also, so we could bring that proposal back here in 2 weeks and get a decision by the board, up or down, hopefully up, and get us on board to start saving some money as soon as we can. So that's my request.
I'll move to refer to the Finance. Second.
We have a motion to refer to the Finance Committee has been seconded. Any further questions or discussions? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. And the second issue I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight was an update on the hotel situation, in particular down on South Main Street, but across the city. I held a meeting, my monthly meeting this last Friday up here in the conference room, which was well attended by many stakeholders which are involved in all things hotels, which include the state, the owners of the hotels, Stockton Security, City Police, Fire, Building and Zoning, and a representative from LIT was also there by phone. I guess the main news out of that meeting came from the state. There are some changes that are being made. First off, there will be no new transitional housing vouchers issued after October 1st of this year. The existing vouchers, folks that are housed down in the hotels, their eligibility will be ramped down, and it'll be means tested, so it'll be according to their income, and that will, I think, slowly result in folks moving out of the hotel. Funds for this program, initially thought to last through next summer, which we were being told over the last several months, are now estimated to run out in March, so it'll just barely make it through the winter. And the reason this appears to be, the reason for this is actually twofold. One, there's still an increased numbers in the number of people that are being housed in the hotels overall, both here in the city and across the state. And my guess is, because some of the hotel owners are expecting that this program is going to be ending at some time fairly soon, they are charging an increased amount per room, and the state is just turning around and paying it. And what we're talking about is hundreds of dollars. I don't remember exactly if they put a definite amount on it, but it was in the $200, $300, maybe even $400 a night. That adds up pretty quickly. And so the money's going to run out. The GA program, which is the General Assistance Program, which has been in existence for a long time, will remain intact, with the cold weather exception, of course, for people who are legitimately homeless and need some help. The lit folks are no longer providing services either at the Quality Inn or the Cortina. The state has severed the relationship with them. I believe as far as police calls, it looks to me, we had a Rutstat meeting this morning, they have remained steady at the Quality Inn, but they have increased across the street at the Econo Lodge because there are now more people being lodged over there. And that has become quite a little problem, quite a big problem. And finally, I guess I'll just mention that I've said to you right along, when talking with the state, there still is no plan for what's going to happen, once this money does run out, and where these folks are going to be housed. Again, we're being told that no decisions are going to be made until the legislature convenes, and that is in January. It'll be a new legislature with a lot of new folks, so it's going to take them a while to get up to date on exactly what this program is about and what they want to do going forward. So that was the situation at the meeting, and I guess a mixture of good news and bad news, but it still leaves the city kind of up in the air about what's going to happen in the next few months.
Okay.
So that's what I got.
Any questions for the mayor? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to additions and deletions to the agenda. Attorney Bloomer.
I'd like to just add a short executive session regarding, I guess, confidential attorney-client communications.
No.
Can I get a vote?
I'd like to vote no also, if I'm allowed.
You asked, you said if I could, so that's why I
Can I
said
get
no.
a motion to approve the additions?
So moved.
We have a motion has been seconded. Any discussion besides no? All right, you get to vote though. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, motion passes surprisingly. Okay, thank you, Attorney Bloomer. All right, moving on to reports and letters from department heads and officials. Barbara Spaulding, RRA VCDP grant resolution.
I thought Anna
Just going to make sure you have the new business of the resolution.
That'll come under new business. That's fine. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, I just want to, in your packet, you have the resolution for the VCDP application and the letter of support from Devin Neary at the Regional Planning Commission saying that the project is consistent with the regional plan. And we're just asking that you circulate for signature.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll move to circulate for signature the VCDP resolution.
Motion to circulate for signature has been seconded. Any discussion? Alderman Tory.
I would just encourage you to vote no on this. I do not think this looks in the best interest of the city going forward for other grant applications. We desperately need housing, not $1.2 million to create 2 additional units in the city. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Alderman Barbagallo.
Again, coming late to the party here, unfortunately. I understand this was approved at an earlier meeting before I was on the board, but it was approved at $650,000, is that correct?
I believe that's correct. Barbara, is that correct? 650? Yeah. Yes.
Does it need to be resubmitted because it's now at 1.2 million?
The grant is 650.
The
The 1.2 million is the total project
has
cost.
changed. The scope of the project has changed.
The
Does it
scope of
need to be resubmitted?
Now, the scope of the project, if I'm understanding correctly, the scope of the project has not changed from the time that this grant proposal was put in place. What's that? Go ahead.
The cost just went up.
The cost went up.
$850,000 project. Now it's one.
Any other comments or questions? That answer your question?
Answer my question, thank you.
Fantastic. All right, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, can you do, I didn't, can we do,
It's your discretion to raise hands.
okay, can we do it by hands, please? All those in favor? Any opposed? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no votes.
Twice.
What's that?
I think no.
We'll do it one more time. All those in favor, please raise your hand so we can count you. We have 3 yeses. Any opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no votes. The motion fails. Okay. Moving on, Treasurer Markowski, establish new sweep accounts for ARPA funds.
Can we just, before we move on, can I just clarify?
Yeah.
That was, I guess, a little unexpected. I just want to be clear, so we are not going to be submitting a application for this project because there is no resolution for the Board of Aldermen, just so everybody's aware of that. Okay?
Okay.
How unfortunate.
All right, Mary, sorry.
We block vote. The block vote has occurred again.
Hi, everyone. So tonight, I wanted to present a proposal and request to open a sweep fund account for the ARPA funds that we received last year. And since we last met, we received another $780,000. The municipal portion, state portion for the municipality for the ARPA funds. We have about $3 million in funds, and I had reached out to the bank for some proposals of the best way to put that money to work for us. So I included the options that the bank gave me, one in staggering certificates of deposits, and the other was this sweep account. I like the sweep account. It gives us flexibility, liquidity, collateral, and I thought it was the preferable rate overall. So I was looking for the board's authorization to open that account, if you are good with that arrangement.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules has been seconded. Any discussion, questions for Mary? All right, seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mary. Anything else?
And I'll
That's
move
it.
to,
Thank you.
Nope.
not need a motion.
Oh, yeah, you, oh, I guess you do, yeah.
Sorry,
I'll move
thank
to
you. That's my
authorize the
bad.
city treasurer to create a special reserve sweep account for the investment of the funds that are appropriated to the city through the American Rescue Plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. Any discussion, questions, or comments for Mary? All right, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion pass, any opposed? Motion passes. Mary, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry for the confusion, my bad. Okay, moving on. Attorney Bloomer, we have your executive session, which will move to the end of the meeting. Also, Attorney Bloomer, cleanup of title issues for parcel 12070, pages 4 through 10 in your packet.
Sure, thank you. So I did provide this in the public packet. If there are questions that you think are better served to be asked in executive session, we can do so, but it's, once you parse through it a bit, it's fairly straightforward. Mr. Smith lived up on Healy Lane, and he's got, had at least two pieces of property up there, and then there was one L-shaped piece, which I don't think the labeling came through on the packet copy, but I provided a map. So the square piece that's between Victor Place and Healy Lane is where his home was. The piece to the right of that, that's 12074, 4.5 acres, he still owns and is undeveloped. And then the L-shaped piece is 12070, which comes off of Victor Place turns to the west and heads to Stratton Road. So that's the piece that there's some ambiguity as to whether Mr. Smith currently owns it or whether the city currently owns it. The city's been taxing him on that property, and he'd like to ensure that he has the rights to use it because it's his best method of access to the larger 4.5 acre property. So in speaking with the city engineers about what we may want to do with that property in the future, they didn't see any use in the foreseeable future, but we still carved out some uses in the easement and have negotiated with Mr. Smith to quitclaim any interest that we may have in that L-shaped parcel in exchange for an easement over the same parcel that would allow the city to run utilities underneath if that's ever necessary. So that's the transaction in a nutshell, and if people have specific questions, I can attempt to answer them.
Any questions? Alderman Torrey.
The 4.5 acre parcel that was for sale or is for sale, or he bought it recently?
I believe he bought all three of these properties from the Gartner family a few years ago, and to my knowledge, that piece of property is for sale. What was supposed to be Parcel B,
Yeah.
which is the 4.5 acre property. I haven't looked recently, but he did say that he had it for sale at one point.
And does us giving him access or ownership increase the value of his property? And are we?
I mean, this is somewhat conjecture on my part, but I think right now he assumes that he has this access, and anybody who's looking at the property is probably assuming that they will get there, because I haven't really been up there, but I believe Healy Lane drops off a fairly steep decline at the top of the hill there. So that isn't seen as the best access to this property. So I think what he has it listed for assumes that he'll have access through this piece of property.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Okay, we have a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll move to authorize the disposition of parcel number 12070 via a quitclaim deed to Christopher Smith in substantially the form presented pursuant to section 6.2 of the Rutland City Charter in exchange for an easement to the city in substantially the form presented, and further authorize the mayor to sign all transactions related to these documents.
Second.
We have a motion, it has been seconded. Any further questions, discussions? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Attorney, okay, moving on. Zoning Administrator Strniste has 3 items for us, all of which have been emailed to you. I'll let you pick the order you want to go in.
I'll tackle them in the order on the agenda.
Perfect.
So the first one is in regards to 1 Leonard Street. I have the property owner, Catherine Ross, over there in the corner. So about in mid-March, it came to our attention that there was a fence located in the right-of-way, about 2 feet off the edge of Clark Street. After getting that information, the Department of Public Works and myself have been in contact with the landowner about relocating the fence. Just for some background information, fences that are less than 8 feet in height are exempt from the zoning regulations, so they don't need a permit from my department or the building department. So this really falls into the jurisdiction of the Board of Aldermen at the discretion of Public Works, or the recommendation of Public Works, on whether we allow the fence within the city's right-of-way. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Catherine said she can answer any questions as well.
Alderman DePoy?
And do we have a picture of this or anything? I haven't had a chance to go by and take a look at it.
Yep, there is a picture in the packet. I unfortunately did not I couldn't print it out when I tried to print it. Does anyone have a picture?
Do you have one?
Clark Street's off Harrington, right?
Yeah.
That's the fence. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, so, it's close to the edge of the street there. When speaking to the Department of Public Works, and Michael, if you could just show that picture again, there's a giant tree, like right there, and that's like right on the property line. So that's kind of complicating the matters in regards to relocating that fence. To get it on the property line, it would be right in the middle of that tree. So there's an effort to save the tree. Otherwise, if it had to be relocated on the property, it kind of would moot having a fence there because the backyard would be too small.
Alderman
Has there
Davis.
been any complaints from the city or others in regards to the placement of the fence where it exists now?
So this did come through to our department through a neighbor who has expressed some discontent.
Is it on their property?
No, it's this one. It came through in terms of we basically haven't had a request like this in a while, and the landowner said he was going to be here, but I don't see him. He basically was told that he couldn't have a fence in the right of way, so some internal background. When someone calls us and asks, where can I have a fence on my property, we say, you have to have it on your property. And if they said, can I have it in the right of way, we would say, no. There are circumstances where something comes up where, circumstances might dictate otherwise, but typically our position is, no, you need to have it on the property. And if it's not on the property, then it's at the recommendation of Public Works to you guys. So I don't know if I answered your question, but.
No, you did.
Okay.
Yeah. And if I may, is there a recommendation from Public Works? Do we have that?
Yes, in the packet, there is a recommendation. They are okay with it, with the condition that a letter agreement be drafted by them in collaboration with the city attorney. So there are a couple conditions in regards to, in the event DPW wishes to install, repair, or replace any new or existing infrastructure within the right-of-way at this location, the fence shall be removed at the homeowner's expense, and the city shall not be liable for any damages to the fence that may take place. So in the snow plowing, if that wrecks the fence.
And the request to us is to approve or disapprove?
To allow the relocation of that fence within the city's right-of-way.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll move to approve the recommendation of DPW for the fence at 1 Leonard Street.
Second.
We have a motion that's been seconded. Any further questions for Administrator Strniste? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item.
Next item is contracting with Tech Group for IT services. We have Mike here from Tech Group over here who can answer any questions. As the board may remember, back a couple months ago, we brought to you going out the RFP for a managed service provider. The committee recommended Tech Group, who came to the board to authorize going into contract with them. We, with the help of Matt, the mayor, Mary, myself, went through the contract, worked with Mike to get something in place here, and I'm sure he can better answer any questions that everyone may have, if there's any.
All right, seeing no questions, do we want to make the motion?
Motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
We have a motion to suspend the rules, has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
And motion to authorize the mayor on behalf of the city of Rutland to enter into the Tech Group Managed Care Services Agreement with the Tech Group LLC in substantially form presented and for an amount not to exceed $85,000 annually.
Second.
we have a motion to approve, and it's been seconded. Any discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing, oh, Alderman Torrey.
Curious from the mayor, in terms
Are we
of,
gonna pay for it?
just wondering what your thoughts were in terms of balancing.
Yeah, so, our thought is, at least for now, to, take it out of operating. We know we're gonna go over budget, but in the long run, this is the smart thing to do. This is gonna save us a lot of money, and I think even starting next year. So, short-term pain, long-term gain.
So on next year's budget that we'll see in a couple months, you'll be putting this in and probably taking down some of the other uses of the.
Correct.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
I was just gonna mention, I had suggested that Mike come down from wherever he's come down from, just in case, there were questions. So we may wanna give him, if there aren't any questions, we may wanna give him a chance to, if you vote yes, to, get up and introduce himself and.
That would be great.
If you vote no, he might not wanna say anything, but.
Thanks for the suggestion. All right, any more questions or comments? All right, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Mike, would you like to introduce yourself and?
Well, thank you. My name is Mike Passaros. I'm Vice President over at the Tech Group. We're located in South Burlington, our home office, but these days and age, our techs are everywhere, remote working. We've been working on this project now for a few years. I'm so excited to see that the city is really embracing IT, especially security. I'm sure we've all heard the rumors of our towns, and unfortunately, I don't bring great news in saying that cyber attacks are on, the low end. They're actually not. They're increasing every day. Here at the Tech Group, there's 12 techs. We have about 20 people in our firm. We're family owned. We partner with a larger firm and 21 other firms throughout the country, which gives us over 400 resources of technical assistance. So that's why we did the partnership, so that we can, if we have a question, we have folks from Boston all the way to California that can help us out. Our main focus is really securing the city's IT needs, getting away from the break-fix model and getting into the managed service plan where, yes, everybody's going to be there to help support all of your team. More importantly, we're actually going to be doing a lot of behind the scenes that haven't been done for the city in a while. So there's going to be a lot of nice cleanup. There's going to be infrastructure upgrades. We are not the type of firm that comes in and says, here's a $200,000 price tag to upgrade everything. It's not the way we work. We work with 45 other towns in Vermont. We're actually one of the largest that has a bunch of these towns, so we understand budgeting. We understand having to pull sometimes from other departments. We want to steer away from that. Our thing is having a set fixed fee that will basically do all the back end, full support 8 to 5 on anybody who needs it, whether you call 100 times a day, or once. It doesn't matter. Our goal is to save money while bringing the city up to its IT expectations from a policy procedure standpoint that is starting to come down the line. A lot of people see it already through the Vermont League Cities and Towns, through cyber insurance and everything. Our job is to partner with you, so really that you have someone to go to for questions, but more importantly, when you lock up at night, especially from the fire and other super criticals, we got your back. That's what it comes down to. Any questions?
Great.
I love answering questions. You made this too easy. I'm here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming down. The IT committee and the whole board was really excited that we're moving in this direction, of course. And so I was just wondering, I haven't had a chance to look over the current iteration of the timeline and when you expect to start rolling things out. And was hoping you could just talk briefly about that.
Great question. So, yep, came down today to answer any questions. Hopefully Attorney Matt and I will get the agreement going. There's going to be changes, could be either way. Until we get in there, we first came down a few months ago, I would think, when I came down, and we visited all the centers and all the offices, and we got kind of a sense of what's going on number-wise to be able to, fulfill the RFP from a numbers thing. What we're gonna do now, next couple weeks, myself and a senior engineer is gonna come in, we're gonna visit every location, we're gonna run all of our scripts on all the equipment, we're gonna get ages of everything, we're gonna put it all together. That's the first step on our back end. Okay. From there, I'd say we have a pretty strict what we call onboarding process. So together, we would pick a date. Okay, we want to be live by November 1st. 50% of the stuff, 60% of the stuff is done on our back end. The other half is a day we're going to come on site, and basically all it entails is we're going to put our agents on all the machine servers, firewalls, etc., so we can monitor them, their health. It's kind of like you change the oil in your car, you do the tune-ups, you're gonna get an extra 2-3 years out of your vehicle, right? That's our goal for this, is that we can get those computers to go 6, 7, 8 years. So I'm hoping by November 1st, we'll be go live, but really, again, it's a partnership. So we're ready, because that's our job. So really, it's whenever you guys are ready, when the city's ready, that's when, we work with you to take it in. But once today goes and we get the agreement, my team's coming down and we're going to start our back end within the next 2 weeks.
Alderman Choi.
I'm wondering if you have those scripts and programs that you're talking about on like 3.5-inch floppies. We're going to need some of those.
Yeah, we'll grab a couple of those. They're sitting right next to, I believe, those what are those old tracks there with the music tracks? I even don't think myself. Remember those?
Don't look at me.
Same. I'm not looking at it. Same filing cabinet. I'll get those for you.
We'll appreciate that.
Any other questions I can help with?
I like a floppy disk.
All right, thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, last item for you, Mr. Strniste, contract regarding permitting software, GovPilot.
Yep, so also a couple weeks ago I was in regards to GovPilot and getting permit software for our department. As I sat down with them, I tried to really establish value as many places as I could in the city with a small amount of modules. So if you recall, the RFP that was submitted was $20,000 for 5 modules. I went back and forth with them, and I could get basically we could get a 6 module for an additional $1,600, which is down $2,400. If the board approves the 6 modules, we would have 1 for zoning permitting, which covers me, 1 for building permit, which covers Mark, 1 for certificates of occupancy, which covers Mark again, and then we have 3 modules that would be beyond our department. It would be report a concern, which does help with our department, but it also reports concerns all to each department. Then you have business registration, which is actually going to be repurposed to business personal property. One of the gaps that we have right now in terms of getting accurate information for business personal property is that submittal process. So after talking to GovPilot, they said that they could repurpose that module so we can actually get more accurate information, and hopefully that will grow the grand list from that perspective. And then we have a 6th module, which would be the one that is kind of the take it or leave it. That's the bids and requests for proposals. I know there was some desire to have maybe a more formalized process for bid submittals and requests for proposal submittals, so that would end up covering that aspect as well. So in total, when the board first approved the RFP process, it was up to $25,000. It would still be underneath that amount, but the request for proposal that came in was $20,000. So basically, I'm presenting two contracts, one for 5 modules, which would be $20,000, one for 6 modules, which would be $21,600, and that would be a discounted 6th module. And I'll take any questions.
Motion to suspend the rules?
Motion to suspend the rules has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And motion to authorize the mayor on behalf of the city of Rutland to enter into the subscription service order with GovPilot for 6 modules and a term of 3 years in substantially the form presented and for an amount of $21,600 annually.
Second.
We have motion has been seconded. Any discussion or questions, comments? Alderman Franco.
Yeah, just a question. Thanks, Andrew, for putting this together. I was just curious, I know there's an option for exec session. Was there anything you needed from us to discuss in that before, or you're all set with the?
I would kind of defer to Matt if you want to respond to that.
Yeah, no, it was really, I usually put that language in just in case somebody wants to talk about the negotiation of the contract or how we ended up.
Got it.
And I had the one little note in there that they were pretty amenable to all the changes that I asked for, except for that the one, basically, almost all these contracts have a limitation of loss or limitation of liability provision that I try to peel back as much as I can.
Right.
They're trying to insulate themselves from things that could go wrong, and I'm trying to, you know, sort of talk to them about like, well, things that should be, you know, you should take care of if it's your fault. But in this case, it's part of their master agreement, which most businesses don't like to change because they like to have a standard one for every client. And there were, at least for the second piece of it, which I'm trying to remember now, there was if they were to lose our data, which is pretty unlikely because now everything lives on the cloud and it's not like on some sort of physical hard drive that could be damaged. But we're told that we're going to have the opportunity that if we want to download a CSV file, however, you know, on a weekly basis or really any time, we can do that. So that should be another way that if they do happen to lose our data, we would have a copy that we could potentially use to restore. The only other piece, so actually I don't think I have a copy of Andrew's memo, but there was basically one other item that I would have liked to have seen them capitulate on that they didn't. So I just highlighted that, and as long as everyone goes into it with their eyes open. This isn't a huge contract. What it was if they breach the contract or if they're found to be infringing on another company's technology, that they be on the hook to pay for transition costs, which this came in handy for, I guess it's a 6-letter word, fathom, where when they breached, I had negotiated that language that they would cover it, so they had to pay with whatever they had left. They had to pay for our transition to another vendor, and in that case, it was a much bigger project, so it made a bigger difference. Here, I think it's not going to be, if this company goes bust or something else happens, it's probably not going to be the same level of whatever noun or adjectives you want to use that go along with the other projects. So I think it'll be okay, but
yeah, the only reason I ask is because I know we had brought up a few different models, and so I wasn't sure if those were discussed. But if you're comfortable with this option, then you know, I'm happy moving forward.
Andrew?
Yeah, so, and just for the record, I wanted to say, I just wanted to quickly comment on the funding aspect of this. So under our new fee schedule, you know, we're hoping to make up the difference to cover the costs in our budget. Just to give a rough estimate, I think it was in fiscal year 2022, there were over 400 real estate transactions. Under our new fee schedule, there'd be a $100 fee for each of those transactions, which translates to $40,000. So, and that's probably a high number because of the real estate market as it is, but you know, even assuming half, that would be $20,000 in just real estate transactions alone.
All right, any further questions, comments, discussion? Seeing, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate it. Okay, Chief Kilcullen, request for employee leave of absence, page 11 in your packet.
I think Henry provided you with a copy of the memorandum. It just explains what we're looking for. So when we hired Matt Prouty, he had a vacation planned, a month vacation, before he, contemplated coming back into the workforce. He had this trip planned. So we didn't want to hold off on hiring him until he got back, so we hired him up front, and now requesting leave of absence under the contract referenced in the memo I sent you. Pretty straightforward. The contract, so this formalizes that as required, and then the contract also addresses issues with what accruals he'll get or won't get, and what sort of payments are necessary while he's on a leave of absence, if he chooses to continue his pension or his health insurance. So it's all addressed in the contract. So this is a formal request to approve the leave of absence.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll move to approve the request for the leave of absence.
Second.
Motion to approve the request for leave of absence has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Whitcomb, Finance Committee.
Thank you, President Dunges. So the Finance Committee met on August 29th, 2022. The topic was ARPA funds review, in particular the DPW requests. Members of the committee present were Alderman Attore, Savage, Talbot, and Whitcomb. Others present were Mayor Allaire, Alderman Barbagallo, Treasurer Markowski, DPW Commissioner Rotundo, and Ted Gillen. The meeting was called to order at 5:30 p.m. The meeting began with Jim Rotundo providing an overview of the most pressing DPW requests. Jim first presented the water treatment plant and wastewater treatment plant requests. Jim noted that both requests are difficult to place in the annual budget. Jim then discussed the request for the Highway Division and Water Distribution Division requests. Jim provided photos of equipment requests being proposed and discussed with the group the high repair costs of continuing to maintain the current equipment. Beyond the requests for ARPA funds, Jim outlined anticipated public works projects. He outlined combined sewer overflow and pollution control projects, water main distribution replacement projects, City of Rutland water main project, paving bonds, sidewalk bonds, and structure bonds. Alderman Attore asked how the two proposed pieces of equipment in the current request would have fit into the equipment improvement fund, or plan. Jim indicated that these pieces of equipment were both on the replacement schedule but had likely been delayed. Alderman Talbot inquired if the city is able to maintain the equipment in a covered garage area. Jim indicated that the equipment was now able to be maintained undercover. Alderman Barbagallo asked if there was any value in the current equipment that would be replaced. Jim indicated that they would seek to trade in the equipment and put any money from the sale toward new equipment acquisition. Mary asked if money from ARPA funding should be set aside for the streets garage. Jim indicated that he believed Public Works could look at this structure and segments going forward and strategically engage in upgrades. Jim suggested that if a capital improvement plan were created, this could be effective alternative to fund streets garage requests, removing $400,000 from the overall DPW requests. The committee took no action in this meeting, citing the need to hear again from the police and fire department regarding their ARPA requests. The committee anticipates meeting and providing a recommendation for the DPW ARPA funding in early October of this year. The meeting adjourned at 6:23 p.m.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to reports of select committees. We have none. Reports of representatives. Alderman Attore.
Thank you. The City Planning Commission, I told you everybody I would try to update you at least once a month. I would encourage you to take a look at the minutes. I don't see them in this packet, but Barbara usually includes them all. They are going through the various uses for the different zones between residential, kind of single-family residential, multifamily, creating the multiple use district. There's a number of different zones that they're creating and trying to figure out the uses. This is the time, if you have input or ideas about what those zones should be, this would be the time to come to a meeting and provide that feedback to the commissioners. They're doing a good job between all of them of kind of talking about it from their different perspectives. So hopefully it's a good product, but again, it does end up being ours. And so if you had any input on what the uses should be in each zone, I would encourage you to either attend or look at the minutes and pass your requests or feedback to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Attore. Any other reports of representatives? All Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to petitions and letters and miscellaneous communication. First, we'll start with the SEP request for the Halloween Parade, October 29, 2002, from 6 to 9 p.m. That's pages 12 through 17 in your packet.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules has been seconded.
I motion to.
Hold on one second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Go ahead.
I motion to approve the Halloween parade on the 29th of October, 2022 at 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Madison and Strong's to Washington and Strong's.
Second.
We have a motion to approve has been seconded. All those in, any discussion, questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, and then next is our SEP request for running Scared 5K, October 29, 2022, from 10 to noon, pages 18 through 22 in your packet.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
We have a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
And it has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll move for the approval of special events permit for October 29th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, the 5K running and walk event, location for the Southwest neighborhoods, sponsored by Rutland Rec and Parks.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. It has been seconded. Any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Awesome. Moving on to Board of Control Commissioners, we have none. Any unfinished business to come before the board? Alderman Tory.
So it's more of a question for the full board. After our last meeting on August 17th, the Housing Trust held their meeting at CSJ to talk about the property. And I didn't get invited, and given that it was our $30,000 that paid for it, I was just wondering if any of the rest of the Board of Aldermen got invited to that meeting, that public meeting. Thank you. If the board remembers, we did request that that product is ours, and I think it's a real disappointment that we weren't invited to have input on the CSJ project. Fair enough, I wouldn't have been able to be there anyway. It was my kid's birthday, and I had to be at Great Escape with him and 6 friends. But I think it's really unfortunate that we were not invited to that, given that we paid for it and given that we have interest in CSJ development. Thank you.
All right.
And
Alderman DuPois?
Thank you. Real quick, the issue that we sent to finance about taxation in the city when it's supposed to be a town, 1% sales tax. Since the article, thank you, Gordon, has raised quite a bit of concern. I've talked to probably 10 people that said that they've looked at some of their receipts, and they in fact are getting charged the 1% as well on a sales tax, including a former alderman that sat on this board for a few years, back 10, 15 years ago. He said that he had done something, I think it was through, I don't know, Etsy, I think it was through Etsy, and he had gotten charged the 1% as well. So, you know, as this adds up, we could be talking significant money that's going somewhere. I don't know where it's actually going. I guess it goes to the state, and then it has to go be distributed to the whatever town is charging the 1% sales tax. But there's some money that's being generated, and I don't know that our treasurer probably doesn't even know where it is at this point, if we're even getting any of that, which would actually be illegal because we don't have a 1% sales tax in the city of Rutland. So I think we need to investigate this further and get that ball rolling, because now we're talking 10 people and a former alderman. So, and the list is probably growing. I don't know if any of you talked to anybody, but it's drawing a little bit of awareness, especially the article that was in the Herald. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Toy.
Question maybe for the city attorney, given what Alderman DuPois just brought up, you know, when you're dealing with companies that are not in Vermont, who fights that? Where would that go? What?
The best, the best place would be the Attorney General's office. Obviously, if the treasurer is aware that we're getting money from someplace, like one of these companies, or through the state, I don't know if that's just a big you know, pool, and you don't know necessarily which companies are sending it to the state. But that would, from where I sit, I guess, be the thing that we would be the most concerned about is receiving money that is not due to us. But as far as preventing the companies from collecting that amount, I'm not sure that the city has much of a role or the resources to, you know, do that. But I may be biased in my opinion.
Should constituents who, you know, are out money, should they reach out to the Attorney General's office then if they have concerns about practices like that?
That's what I would recommend. I think they have a consumer protection arm that's, you know, pretty well staffed. It's at least someplace to try. And again, they have a few more resources than we do, and that's something that I think it's probably easier for them to get the data as well. And we talked about, I think, that there's software, seems to be software out there that should be able to differentiate between what's Rutland City and what's Rutland Town, even though we share a zip code. But I don't know enough about that software to know whether you can dictate that people use it or how these companies are making the mistakes. But that's one avenue, is to pursue it through the Attorney General's office.
The Attorney General likes to have
Okay. Any other unfinished business to come before the board? Okay, so real quick before we move on to miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and new business, I just wanted to, you know, with yesterday being Labor Day, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the board, but I don't think anybody will disagree with me here. You know, city business during the summer, where most of us get to go and take vacations, city business during the summer tends to ramp up. Whether that's permitting, whether that's, you know, the primaries that we went through, whether that's the treasurer's office collecting taxes, police, fire, everybody, every single department here, even up to and including HR, gets busier in the summer. So from me at the very least, and the rest of you I'm sure would agree, I just wanted to say thank you very much for the hard work this summer. As yesterday was Labor Day, we all kind of got it off, but we really appreciate from all the departments here at the city, all the hard work that you guys put in, making us all look good. So thank you very much. All right, miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and new business. David Nelson, water allocation request.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
We have a motion to suspend the rules. It has been seconded.
Like a parent.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I will move for the approval of the requested water allocation of 75 gallons per day for a distribution facility located at 132 Ranberry Road in the town of Rutland.
Second.
We have a motion to approve. It has been seconded. Any discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Are there any other miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and new business to come before the board? Alderwoman Taddeo.
Yes, I have something, and I'll pass around a paper copy. So I would like the board to formally adopt this resolution, and I'll wait till it's been circulated. Whereas the Rutland City Board of Aldermen acknowledges and upholds the First Amendment right to free speech for all Vermonters, and whereas the board also acknowledges the pain, anguish, and harm caused by public displays of racist, anti-Semitic, and white supremacist symbols and hate speech in our community, specifically including swastikas and the Confederate battle flag, and whereas the board recognizes that the display and sale of historical artifacts or replicas of items used in the oppression, torture, and captivity of people of color undermines their historical significance and perpetuates trauma and torment. Be it resolved that we firmly and unambiguously condemn the display or sale of these symbols of hate and any other expression of hate, anti-Semitism, and racism in our community. Our commitment to justice and inclusivity must have no boundaries. We resolve to welcome and respect residents and newcomers of all races, ethnicities, religions, nationalities, sexes, gender identities, sexual orientations, and abilities. Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion to accept the resolution. Has been seconded. Suspend the rules for resolutions.
It's an action, I would say, probably.
Yeah, so can I get a motion to suspend the rules? We have a motion to suspend the rules. Can I get a second? We have a motion to suspend the rules and seconded. All those in favor of suspending?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, now we have the motion that was made. Still seconding? Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. Any discussion, questions, or comments on the resolution? Okay, hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Resolution is accepted. Thank you very much. All right, is there any other new business to come before the board? Hearing and seeing none? So we have a hand? Sorry, Joe. My bad, I was looking at my
I know I'm
paperwork.
new, but I'm still here.
Just yell at me, it's fine. Alderman Babagallo.
I was approached by some of the residents of Roy Street about a concern on the corner of Strong's Avenue and Roy Street. And I typed up a little thing here, and there is one typo in it, which is, I'll point out when I get to it. But basically, they're concerned about pulling off of Roy Street on Strong's Avenue. There are setback signs there that say no parking here to corner, but because of their location, they can't be seen. One of them is to the far south of the car repair shop that's there, and I drove by it 3 times before I saw it. And people are parking in that strip, and these are people, when you're trying to pull off a Roy Street, especially if you're trying to turn left, it's a problem. You've got poor visibility. I came by there today, there were 3 cars parked in that section that there's not supposed to be anybody parking. So basically what I wrote here is, I've had residents from Roy Street approach me about the corner of Roy Street and Strong's Avenue. Currently, there are no parking signs here to corner on the corner near Gill's and at the south end of the car repair shop. People are ignoring these signs and still parking in this location. In my opinion, this is creating a safety hazard. It is extremely difficult to come off of Roy Street onto Strong's Avenue. The visibility is very poor with these cars, that should be cars, not care, illegally parked there. I am asking this problem be reviewed by the parking committee, and I say parking committee because I'm not sure which committee it's supposed to go to, be it general or DPW. I believe it is a case of enforcement that needs to be addressed. Perhaps a solution could be found as simply as making the signs more visible or painting the street in front of the repair shop with no parking on it, on the signs. And so I'm asking that this be considered and I assume move to committee.
Okay.
If I may,
Alderman
make a
Davis.
suggestion for Alderman Barbagallo, that it would be appropriate to send to the traffic committee.
Traffic committee, thank you. Then I suggest that this, or make a motion this be
referred to traffic?
Referred to the traffic committee.
Second.
The motion referred to traffic committee has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Did you have a discussion question? No, okay. Alderman Nattori? No, you weren't raising your hand at all?
I was for the next.
Oh, go ahead.
Over traffic safety. On our conversation, so we had this conversation kind of behind, before the meeting of the public postings and civic engagement. And I was reminded during this meeting that a couple years ago, in 2020 or so, a few of us participated in a workshop on inclusivity, and one of the things that we talked about there was, and the mayor was there, was how do you engage the public a little bit better? And so I'm wondering if this isn't an opportunity to talk about that more, to carry that forward, to make sure that we're doing what we can to engage the public, and whether it's the postings or something else, how do we make sure that we're demonstrating that we're open to the public and that we want their engagement? We would love them to serve on committees. We have room for people to serve. I think it's probably a good time to have this conversation. So I don't know if we should send it to general or committee of the whole. I'd look to Alderwoman Davis for kind of advice on that.
I think either committee of the whole just gives everybody a voice.
So then I'd like to refer to the committee of the whole, a discussion of community civic engagement and our public postings of meetings.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that has been seconded to refer to the committee of the whole. All those, any discussion, questions, or comments for Alderman Tory? All right, hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, is there any other new business to come before the board? Or unfinished?
Can I ask 2 questions? So, Alderman Tory just mentioned that the College of St. Joseph group did not report, did not invite the city to participate in the meeting. Is that just a complaint that you're making individually, or is the board going to formally write to the organizer of that meeting, the recipient of those funds, and ask them to come and present the conclusion of the meeting to the board, or what? It seems rather arrogant.
Alderman, sorry.
I can't speak for the board. I know that I do assume that they will come and present their findings at some point. If the board was so inclined, I would support that action.
Yeah, I mean, you're passing resolutions. Why don't you pass a resolution and formally request the recipient of taxpayer money to come and present to the board in a public way?
They will, if I can, they will for sure present the product to us because we did ask for it. It's unfortunate that we're not part of the process for the product, but I'm confident they will bring us the product.
Who is that?
The Housing Trust.
I see. I had another question for the mayor. Mayor, how many state-supported residents are there in hotels in Rutland today?
The number, I believe we were told, was in the range of 530 in Rutland County. I don't have a number for the whole state.
I see. Are you satisfied with the advanced planning for this after the money runs out?
I'm totally unsatisfied. There is no plan.
So what suggestions do you have that the power of the city government here and the board can be brought to the conversation?
So I have made my concerns very vocal to state representatives, to the members of the state organizations that come to my monthly meeting, and I think there's been articles in the paper, and I will continue to voice my concerns here at board meetings and whoever will listen.
I see. Is there any connection
Well, excuse me.
between these two things? Let me just ask my last question. Between St. Joseph, the provider, there's been discussion about using that facility for low-income housing, and therefore freeing up the use of the hotels for tourism and city business. Has that been, do these two things somehow go together?
Well, I think they're two separate things. I think that obviously from the, there is a desire, and there's been a discussion at this board and in my venue, to entertain the idea of building affordable as well as market rate housing on the St. Joe's campus. Whether that actually moves forward, I'm hoping it does, because I think that that would be an opportunity for the city and for everybody that's concerned about housing to move forward. But that is, the College of St. Joseph is privately owned. It's owned by a bank, and they will choose to do with that property probably what they see fit, and whoever comes along is writing a check.
Alderman DePoy?
And if there are concerns about that, being that the rec department is over there on that same property, it's now been subdivided, but you can't really have the transitional housing coming out of jail given some of the offenses that were committed by those coming out in proximity to a facility that has children in it as a rule. So I don't see that, and I certainly wouldn't support that kind of housing being installed over at St. Joe's anyway. So, and I haven't heard that. I know some of the people that are trying to develop that, and that's not their intent. So I don't think that that would go that direction.
Okay. Any other miscellaneous motions, resolutions, or new business to come before the board? Hearing and seeing none, we will turn to the city attorney to give us our motions for executive session.
Okay, motion to find that premature general public knowledge regarding probable litigation to which the city would be a party would clearly place the city at a substantial disadvantage because the discussion will divulge the city's strategy in such probable litigation, and will include confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the city.
So moved.
Second.
A motion has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Motion to enter into executive session with the inclusion of the mayor, the recreation maintenance director, the treasurer, the clerk, and the city attorney to discuss the probable litigation as allowed under Title I, Section 313A1B, and Title I, Section 313A1F.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll adjourn for executive session.